The crystal spires of the Galactic Senate Tower pierced the violet sky of Centrum Prime, their surfaces reflecting the light of 3 suns. Inside the Grand Chamber, Ambassador Chen Wei stood alone at the defendant's platform, surrounded by representatives of 47 alien species. The air thrummed with translated whispers, each word dripping with contempt. "The motion passes," Supreme Arbiter Krellix announced, his 12 eyes blinking in sequence. "Humanity is deemed too dangerous for galactic coexistence. Extinction protocols will commence in 30 standard cycles." Chen didn't flinch. She had expected this. Humanity's crime was simple. They refused to surrender Earth's quantum gate technology, the only method of instantaneous travel humanity had independently discovered. The Senate wanted it. Humanity said no. And in the Senate's 10,000-year history, no species had ever survived saying no. "You mistake caution for weakness," Chen said quietly, her voice amplified across the chamber. "You've made a grave error today." Laughter erupted from the assembled delegates. The Vraxians chittered through their vocal sacs. The crystalline Lumari chimed in metallic mockery. Even the normally stoic Kelvorians allowed themselves a rumbling chortle. "Your species controls 14 colonies across 7 systems," Krellix replied, his tone almost pitying. "The Senate commands 70,000 worlds. Your extinction will be clean, efficient, and utterly inevitable. Take these final cycles to make peace with your gods, Ambassador." Chen bowed slightly, then turned and walked toward the exit. As the massive doors sealed behind her, she tapped the neural implant behind her ear. "Omega Protocol," she whispered. "Authorization Chen Alpha 7. Across human space, her words ignited a response that had been carefully prepared for exactly this scenario. 29 cycles later, the Senate fleet emerged from quantum space at the edge of the Sol system. 3,000 warships, the largest armada ever assembled, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Admiral Vorthos of the Kelvorian Dominion commanded from the dreadnought Eternal Supremacy, confident this would be the quickest extinction event in Senate history. "Scan for human vessels," he ordered. "Sir, the system appears empty," his sensor officer reported, mandibles clicking in confusion. "No defensive fleet, no orbital platforms. The colonies are abandoned." Vorthos felt the first prickle of unease. "Where are they?" Before anyone could answer, reality began to tear. Quantum gates opened across the system, not the standard stable portals humanity had always used, but something else. Something wrong. The gates pulsed with sickly energy, and through them came nothing. No ships, no weapons, just mathematics. The first Vraxian cruiser simply ceased to exist as the quantum equations unraveled the atomic bonds holding it together. Then another. And another. The gates weren't transporting anything. They were projecting weaponized physics, rewriting the fundamental constants of reality within targeted zones. "Shields up! Return fire!" Vorthos roared, but there was nothing to fire at. The gates were everywhere and nowhere, flickering in and out of existence faster than targeting systems could track. Then the real horror began. The Eternal Supremacy shuddered as something vast emerged from a gate the size of a small moon. It wasn't a ship. It was a structure, a massive ring of ancient alien design that even the Senate's oldest records couldn't identify. Humanity hadn't built it. They'd found it, hidden in the dark spaces between stars, and they'd learned to use it. Energy beyond measure poured from the ring, and space itself began to fold. The Senate fleet tried to retreat, but the quantum gates had sealed every exit. They were trapped in a bottle of twisted spacetime, and humanity held the cork. Broadcast on all frequencies, a human voice echoed across every ship's communication system. It was calm, almost sad. "You chose extinction. We're just better at it than you imagined." The ancient ring pulsed once more, and half the Senate fleet simply vanished, transported instantaneously to random coordinates across the universe. Some appeared inside stars, others in the crushing depths of black holes. The survivors fled toward Centrum Prime, their formations shattered, their pride broken. 72 hours later, Supreme Arbiter Krellix knelt in the ruins of the Senate chamber. Human soldiers, clad in armor that phased in and out of normal space, stood guard at every entrance. Ambassador Chen Wei sat in Krellix's own throne, reviewing documents on a holographic display. "How?" Krellix whispered, his voice hollow. "We had every advantage. Every calculation showed your defeat." Chen looked up, and he saw no triumph in her eyes, only weariness. "You calculated wrong," she said simply. You assumed we'd fight you the way you fight each other. Military might against military might. But humanity learned long ago that conventional warfare is a fool's game when you're outnumbered. She gestured to the destroyed ceiling, where stars glittered through the wreckage. We spent 2 centuries exploring the dark spaces you ignored. We found artifacts, technologies, phenomena that your species were too proud to investigate because they didn't fit your understanding of physics. We learned. We adapted. And when you threatened us, we weaponized knowledge itself. Krelix's eyes welled with bioluminescent tears. What happens now? Will you exterminate us? Chen was quiet for a long moment. Outside, the quantum gates still flickered in orbit around Centrum Prime, a constant reminder of the sword hanging over the Senate's collective necks. No, she finally said. Humanity didn't want this war. We wanted to be left alone. But since you forced the issue, here are our terms. The Senate will dissolve. Every species will govern itself. Slavery, forced tribute, and extinction protocols are abolished. Humanity will maintain quantum gate access to enforce these terms. She stood, walking toward the kneeling arbiter. You chose our extinction because you feared what we might become. Now you'll live long enough to see what we always were, a species that just wanted to survive but refused to die quietly. Krelix bowed his head, all 12 eyes closing in submission. Around the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. Humanity had not just survived the Senate's judgment. They'd shattered an empire 10,000 years old in less than a week. And in the darkness between the stars, the ancient ring continued to pulse, a silent guardian ensuring that never again would any species face extinction by decree. The humans had chosen mercy. But mercy, the galaxy now understood, was not the same as weakness.